Hello and welcome back, listeners. This is the orientation video for Long Walk Talks Lost. I'm Chief Engineer David Hensley, and I'm joined tonight by my head researcher,
Cara Hayes,
and our staff quantum physicist,
Robert Bradford.
And we are continuing our Lost 20-year retrospective, now 21-year retrospective, which is, yeah, I know.
I hate that.
I know, but, if it makes you feel any better, next year will be 22.
Yeah, that totally makes it better.
But if you think of it as, relative to the actual season we're talking about, we're ahead of schedule.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Hey, as of last September, this show could drink legally.
Yep, sure could.
That's upsetting.
God, if I'd have had a kid at the same...
There's a rabbit hole that's like upsetting to go down.
Yeah.
We've gone down this one before. No, thank you.
No.
We are going to be talking about episodes 4, 5, and 6 of season 5 tonight. But before we do that, we have a themed cocktail. Robert, tell the listeners about the cocktail that we all enjoyed.
Well, I think I've mentioned before that sometimes my first go-to for selecting a cocktail is to just get lazy and Google the episode titles to be like, is there a cocktail just called The Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham?
If there is.
So in this case, I was lucky to find there is one called The Little Prince. It's actually very nice, kind of like it's a party cocktail. I could see making like a pitcher out of this for a get-together. It's orange liqueur. I use triple sec. Lime juice, simple syrup, and I'm drawing a complete blank.
Sparkling water,
Sparkling water, thank you. I use San Pellegrino for that. But yeah, so it's just kind of like really is just like a slightly boozier flavored water.
I mean, I can't lie. I was kind of hoping you'd bring them tonight so that, we could enjoy again.
This one's going into my regular rotation. And honestly, I'm looking at it like I could mocktail this pretty easily too, just for all variants. But yeah, so this one felt like a winner.
Oh, it was. But like I said last time, you haven't let me down so far. Kara, I know you don't like the darker spirits, but I do. So
No, I like the darker spirits. I don't like the brown liquor.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Well stated. Thank you. All right. So we are going to dive into our discussion with episode 504, The Little Prince. Still weirds me out to not go, this is day whatever, and it's a Jack episode.
It's 2007 and 2004 and 1863 and 226,000 years in the future and
1954, I think, or 1974.
And yesterday.
The 50s are in there somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. It gets weird. But anyway.
So we actually start up back on the Searcher, Penny's boat, right after it's picked up the Oceanic 6. It's interesting how they just kind of go back, not to really any new reveals, but just little character moments about what was going on. Like, we opened this season with a reveal that, like, Hurley resents Saeed for not backing him up about not telling the lie. And now we find out that Jack talked to Kate ahead of time about his idea and told her that he was going to look to her first so she would support him and help the others fall in line. So not really a reveal, but just kind of a new twist on just kind of from the get-go, Jack was sort of working the others.
The way that they have scattered all of these, what's the name of this boat? The Searcher. All these scenes across 4 and now 5 makes me really want to go and watch Chronologically Lost, the fan edit that puts everything in chronological order, just so I can see how all of these moments on how they were on the ocean for 5 days, 6 days.
I would very much be down to watch a version of that, just as long as it isn't actual all 45 minutes, just quick clip of this one scene. Okay, moving forward, quick clip, moving forward. If there's a 2-hour condensed version of that, we should watch that as a group.
Right. Agreed. Back in 2007, their present, our past, Sawyer and Juliet's future. We see Kate borrowing some clothes from Sun, and we see that little baby Aaron is there anyway, eating what appears to be a plate of just French fries, or so it appeared to me.
This is the height of luxury.
Yeah, he's in a penthouse suite eating a plate of fries. For a 3-year-old, that is, I imagine, what heaven would be.
I think Sun's indicated that she's going to let him help himself to the candy in the mini bar, so yeah, that kid's living it up.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be sugar high and drunk.
So speaking of candy, Sun gets a package delivered right as Kate is going out, and it's I believe it's a file, like a dossier revealing that Ben is in Los Angeles, and also a box of chocolates, all which he lifts up to reveal a handgun underneath, because in Lost, life is a box of chocolates with a concealed handgun.
Yep.
What was this in regards to? This is the problem with watching these days ahead of time. No, so Sawyer is back on island time, whatever fucking year it is that they're all in. Not Juliet. Charlotte's got the brain scramblies even worse than before. She is floating in and out of consciousness. Her nose is just pouring blood, and Sawyer is still trying to demand answers out of poor Daniel Faraday, who is having none of it, while Juliet is trying to get Sawyer to go away. And at one point, she just bluntly tells him, James, go away. And we all sort of had this moment where we're like, God damn, I wish I could do that.
She's somehow forceful and gentle at the same time. James, go away. Like, it doesn't feel mean, but
no,
it's very, very efficient.
And for these for this batch of episodes, we have our first tempting fate watch, because after Sawyer does go away, he goes to talk to Locke about what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to fix the time skips. And Locke tells Sawyer, I have to make them come back even if it kills me, referring to the Oceanic Six. And I got bad news for you, John. I mean, he's already been told by Richard he's going to have to die. I don't remember why Richard knows that or tells him that.
I believe it has to do with the fact that that particular jump was in the future of their time on the island. So Richard has had conversations that had not yet taken place in the chronology of the show.
I gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Time travel is a fun thing to throw into a narrative. But yeah. And it's during this time that Sawyer really starts taking command of this group of others. And I just really like this version of Sawyer stepping into the leadership role. It feels natural to him, to watch him. And maybe that's just the actor's charisma. I don't know. I just forgot his name. Josh Holloway. Josh Holloway. I mean, 5 seasons in, he has settled into this role. He's making it work. And he's settled into being one of the best characters on the show.
Well, he's hit kind of a sweet spot where you'll have, Faraday spinning his theories and Locke kind of musing about what his destiny and purpose is, and Sawyer just kind of cuts through it and is like, okay, we need to go to the Orchid? All right, we're going to the Orchid. Let's go. He's just trying to find the quickest route from A to B.
Right. Your girlfriend's got the brain scramblies? Why?
Yeah. I just wish he wouldn't do it with the scowly face all the time. Like, stop. Just... I don't know. I guess I probably make that face most days. That
we've been meaning to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do. Oh God.
Well, the good news is, I think in just a few episodes, you're going to see like happy face in command Sawyer.
And that's actually even weirder.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think when you're that handsome, it qualifies as a smolder, not a scowl. So back in the 2007 phase, Jack dragged Saeed into a hospital so he could treat him after he tanked a couple of tranquilizer darts. And it turns out hospitals really aren't cool with you just reeling a person in, setting them up in a room, and like giving them medicine, especially when, as we're reminded, Jack has been suspended for all the pills he stole and the other crazy stuff he got into during his bearded phase. So a doctor very politely but firmly takes him out of the room and tells him he needs to GTFO very quickly.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, back in 2007, they still had to have, like, key card or key access to get back into these rooms. So did they just get lazy, like hospital administration, and just never disabled Jack's access? Or was hospital security just that lax in 2007?
I mean, it might have been, but there's probably a lot of people at that hospital that come and go quite frequently, and activating and deactivating badges, it's really a pain in the ass. I only can say that because I have to do it. And, not that it's hard, not that it takes a long time, but if you're doing more than one, and in a hospital that size, they probably are, that poor person who's a security guard probably is like, fuck, I don't want to do this again. I'll do it next week.
Yeah, but if the person you're trying to lock out is like known for stealing drugs from their hospital stash, I think that'd take priority over like the janitor who got laid off.
Maybe Jack has shared with that security guy in the past, so he's not in a hurry to cut Jack off.
That's a good point. And not to mention, it's not like he murdered anyone.
Oh, good point.
I mean, just stole some pills.
Yeah.
His patient has murdered a bunch of people, but not Jack.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like this headcanon. There we go. Back in whenever time on the island, we see them trekking along trying to find the orchid, and they have another shift, and they find themselves firmly in 2004 during season 1 when they see a light in the sky off in the distance, like coming out of the ground. And Locke is the only person who recognizes it because he was/is there. Again, the joys of time travel. He is only probably like a quarter of a mile away from himself. From the night that the light came on, Desmond turned on the light inside the Swan and like basically took John down off the ledge after Boone's death.
And it's interesting that even though Desmond told Locke that, Locke's presence that night probably prevented Desmond from just killing himself then and there, I think Locke just, in the present time, the time jumping Locke sort of shrugs it off as, no, it didn't really mean anything. So it's interesting that he's still in that kind of place of rejecting the meaning of the hatch.
Yeah. And by extension, this is, of course, the same night that Aaron was born. So Sawyer, they all start hearing screams out in the jungle, and Sawyer tromps off to find the source and gets to witness Aaron's birth, which is very thematically appropriate for the episode as a whole, dealing with, Kate's motherhood of Aaron and what to do with him. So he gets to just stare longingly during what is otherwise a very awkward moment for him to observe.
Well, it's interesting that we'd previously seen Sawyer kind of shrug off Faraday's warnings about trying to change the past by going and like banging on the hatch trying to be let in. But here he's just a few feet away from Kate and he doesn't say or do anything. And there's a nice moment you can see he's kind of thinking about it, but he never seems to really make a move towards it. And it's neat that he has a conversation with Locke asking, don't you want to go talk to yourself, see if you can get yourself to do anything different? And Locke tells him no. He says, I need the pain I had then to get where I am now. And that lesson kind of sinks in and moving Sawyer into I don't think it's this episode, but the next one where, or no, it's at the end of this episode. He tells Juliet he didn't go see Kate because what's done is done. And we'll see him kind of accepting that philosophy more as the season goes on. It's also just nice, again, to have Locke be the person who sort of guides people on their journeys, which was very much his role in the show's first season and then kind of faded away as he got pulled into his own stuff. But just nice to see Terry O'Quinn get to play that register again. I think we also observed all back in the present when Jack eventually does leave the hospital. Another guy comes to try to kill Saeed. Saeed kills him or just knocks him out?
Knocks him out.
And they find a slip of paper in his pocket with Kate's address. So Jack freaks out and runs out of the hospital to call Kate, finds out where she is and goes to see her. And his car is parked maybe 20 feet from the front entrance of the hospital. So whatever his ID badge situation is, his parking pass is clearly still in effect.
Well, and apparently he got a spare because Ben parked his murder van, kidnap van right next to him. Because Saeed's like, I'll drive this time, and takes the keys, and they just walk right past Jack's car over to the murder van. So, yeah, great parking at this hospital in Los Angeles, which I can tell you firsthand is not a thing. There is no such thing as good parking in Los Angeles.
They get to borrow the traffic and parking situation of 24 for a little while. They just have that going for them. Back on the island, the group makes it to the beach, and they find the camp is there again, the survivors camp, but it looks like it's deserted, run down, and there are some of those, what do you call those linked canoes?
Outriggers?
Outriggers.
I don't know.
I was going to say canoodle.
Canoodle. That is a
There
better
we go.
name.
I'm going with canoodle going forward.
Thank you.
We're going to need that word for the rest of this episode.
Thank you.
They look around and find a water bottle belonging to Ajira Airlines, which is the first time we've heard it mentioned, but is going to be something that plays a pretty big role in the next couple of episodes.
So at this point, they are in the future, but I think they are like a few days into the future, as far as they are concerned. Like,
Which they?
Relatively. Yes, exactly.
Well, it's after 2007, so it's, I guess...
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. They are like...
At least 3 years in their future, but only a few days or weeks maybe in Jack, Kate, and Son's future. Ooh.
Time travel, baby.
I'm gonna skip one thing just to say a fitting quote from Sawyer: "Time travel's a bitch."
Yes.
Yep. So fun thing, they take the outrigger and they decide to quicken the time to get to the Orchid. They are going to basically take the outrigger around the island to get there instead of tromping through the forest. And they are only like a very short way into the trip when they get another time blip. And now people are shooting at them. And the funniest thing I think we have all witnessed happened. Somebody off in the distance starts shooting at the outrigger, a.k.a. the canoodle, and Cara is the one who jumped
And
ducked. Cara ducked as though she were on the outrigger with them and getting shot at.
I mean, I get into these shows. Like, I'm there.
It's a good survival instinct. Don't let anybody shame you out of it. Much better to duck and not need to than the other way around.
Thank you. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so if I'm remembering right, we never actually find out who that is. Because I was looking up some trivia, and apparently this was one of those things that for all that these time jumps are setting up and paying off other things that have happened or will happen in the show, apparently that is one that just is a loose thread. It's never... Because I was like, is that them in the future? Because that's usually how this sort of thing would go in this kind of story. But apparently it just never... The writers didn't get around to coming back to it.
Huh.
I'm sorry. Now I'm having the brain scramblings. I thought, wasn't that... Hold on, let me form a coherent sentence. This is how time travel fucks with you. I thought that was Rousseau and the French team, but no, you're right, because right after that they have another time skip and now it's pouring rain.
Sawyer shouts, "Thank you, God," as they start to jump away from the people shooting at them, only to emerge in the middle of just a brutal rainstorm.
Did you say, like, I take it back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
No, I think you're
God.
right. No, they never explained who shot at them in that one specific... they're in a time period in which firearms exist.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
So apparently the original plan, this is what I looked up, was that the crew of the Black Rock, the freighter that came with the slaves and dynamite, that they would have also been caught in their own time loop, and so they would wind up chasing the 815 survivors. And maybe that was just a thing that would take too much narrative real estate to set up, so they kind of skipped it.
That makes sense, though. I like that.
You could also just say it's a random group of others. It's not really a dangling thread that needs a resolution.
No, but put a pin in that. I want to talk about that later when we're done.
And,
Which part?
The time loop of the Black Rock.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think we've still got a few more pieces of that puzzle that we get, because we eventually meet someone who came to the island aboard the Black Rock, if I'm remembering right. Back in the present day, so Kate has been stalking the lawyer who's trying to get her DNA sample to prove that she's not Aaron's mom. Jack joins up with her, and they eventually track the lawyer to a hotel where Claire's mother, whose first name I do not remember, is staying.
Mrs. Claire's mom.
There we go. Mama Claire. No, I want Claire. But so Jack tries to go in and talk her down, and just comes in, immediately being like, "Look, I know you think what you're doing is right, but..." And in kind of a nice little swerve after he explains that, they've only ever tried to do what was right for Aaron, she just looks at him and goes, "Who's Aaron?" Just revealing that no, she actually has nothing to do with the paternity or the maternity test against Kate, and has no idea that Aaron is related to her at all.
And man, I love a good edit cut, because Jack goes back to the car and tells Kate that it's not Claire's mom, Claire, that is requesting the maternity suit. They don't know who it is yet. And Kate looks at him and goes, "Then who's the client?" And it jump cuts to Saeed and Ben in the car with a close-up on Ben's face. This is a solid 10 minutes before you get confirmation. It's just, I love shit like that.
I've got to start paying attention more to shit like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little foreshadowing and winks, especially around Ben, these few episodes that we don't really get the full facts on until later in the season.
So when the 2004 group, or whenever they are group, Sawyer and Juliet and co. finally get out of the water and go to the beach, Sawyer just sort of flops down in the sand next to the canoodle, And Juliet sits next to him, and they resume their conversation that they were having about seeing Kate out while helping Claire give birth. And it's here that we've seen how well Juliet. Why can't I remember? Why am I so bad with names? The actress Elizabeth Mitchell and Josh Holloway play off each other, but this is the first time you really see the flirting begin, because man, she is looking at him with some fuck me eyes. That is the horniest Juliet has been on this show since she's been introduced.
Well, no, since she got caught with Dude Man.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh, yeah. Remember that whole subplot?
Oh, the sizzling conversation about chemical burns.
Yeah, it really gets me going.
So Juliet also starts to get her brain scrambling nosebleed, and so does Miles, which is interesting because Daniel is theorizing that it's hitting them in order based on how early each of them has been to the island. So Charlotte, I don't remember if she said anything yet about having been on the island before. I know Miles hinted at it in the season 4 finale. But yeah, okay, Juliet, she's an other. She's been there for a while. But Miles complains that he insists he's never been on the island before, so he doesn't know why he's starting to feel the effects. And meanwhile, Sawyer, Locke, and no, Jen's not with them yet. They're still in the clear because they've got the least exposure. But yeah, hinting that there's more to come with Miles.
Yeah, at this point, even with the time skips and everything, Locke and Sawyer have only been on the island for a little over 4 months. October, November, December. Yeah, 3.5 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hadn't done that math, but yeah, that's a good point.
But I kind of just teased his return. But
yeah, that's my note. Jin lives. We find out. We see a body floating in the water, and we see another little boat come up and rescue him and pull him out. And yeah, sorry for stringing you along, Cara, and also Katie and Gina. I don't know if Gina's watched these yet.
Still hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah, but no, Jin lives to fight another day. They just fucking love to tease Jin's immediate death and then walk it back.
Well, I made this note for the next episode, but if Jin had a nickel for every time he left the island on a boat, that boat exploded and he drifted unconscious back to the island, he'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
I don't remember where that quote originated from, but it's one of my favorite references to make to anything like that. Do you remember where that came from?
It's a cartoon, I think, called Phineas and Ferb, which I've never watched. I just know the illustration that goes with it.
Gotcha. What? Yeah, it's become an internet thing to say, if I had a nickel for every time blank, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it all over the place, and I love it so much. Anyway, back to you, Robert.
Let's see. So, yeah, we eventually all of the Oceanic 6, except Hurley, who's still in jail. And I think it's this episode where Jack calls and Hurley just very cheerfully tells him, I'm in jail for everything's fine. Like he's just exactly where he wants to be, as far from Ben as possible. But, yeah, so Kate, Jack, Saeed, and Ben Aaron and Son are also nearby, but they're hiding in a car. And this is where Kate works out that Ben is actually the one behind these lawyers and the DNA test. And so when she realizes that Jack and Ben have been working together, I think, let's see, I don't know what order it happens in, but I know Hurley, Saeed, everybody has had their own, wait, you're working with Ben moment? Which is an entirely rational reaction given their history with this guy, but it's funny that everybody just has that happen in sequence.
And Kate is last to the party as usual. But in the late 80s, at least we have a general time frame. I think it's 88 that they washed up. 16 years.
16 years before the 815.
Back in 1988, the French expedition crew lands on the shore of the island and get Jin out. And we find out that it is young Danielle Rousseau, heavily pregnant with young Alex, that has rescued him. So he has no idea what the fuck is going on.
And Robert, what did you say? You were how old?
They said they set sail in November of 88. I don't know if that's exactly when it is, but I was about a month old when that was happening.
Yeah. Boy, did that make me feel good.
Yeah. Well, we all had that reaction because we all looked around as we did the math. I would have been 2,
I was going to say, you were 2.
and Katie would be 1.5. So, yeah. And Gina's the youngest of the bunch. Gina wasn't even fucking born yet.
Nope.
Ugh.
Never mind.
Sorry, Cara. All right, we're going to move on. You're welcome, Cara. To 505, this place is death.
I say that a lot.
This
at work.
place is death? Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Same.
Yeah.
So we pick up back on the at the harbor where Sun makes her presence known, and it turns out that after all of her, like, taking over her dad's company, covertly meeting with Widmore, all of her, like, scheming, maneuvering, her plan really is to just walk up and shoot Ben in the face, which, solid plan as far as it goes, but just a little funny that it's like, you probably could have just, I mean, I guess she needed Widmore's resources to track him down while Ben was moving around, but yeah, her end game is very straightforward here.
Yeah, well, she also needed to make the connections to have somebody discreetly deliver a gun in a chocolate box to her, and also probably, I don't think her plan was to shoot him and then surrender. Like, she probably has an exit strategy to get out of America after murdering a man.
Probably.
All those underworld connections would come in handy. But yeah, no, it's not to capture him. It's not to, psychologically torture him or anything. It's to shoot him. That she's a real G for that.
And I think Ben, before the end of this sequence, is able to convince her that he can prove that Jen's alive if she'll just listen to him for a little bit. So that kind of ends the Sun as an antagonist story arc, which is too bad because I really enjoyed watching her get to play that role.
So for the last episode, 504, we poked a little bit of fun at Cara for her reaction. But here we get a great one from Robert as well, who sometimes likes to drop a banger of a quote while we're watching these episodes. The French team and Jen encounter the smoke monster for the first time, and it drags away one of the guys in the French team and is trying to drag him down into his smoke hole, his monster hole.
I think is the same one that Locke was being dragged into in the season 1 finale.
Mm-hmm.
And they had dynamite then to throw down and get the smoke monster to release. The French team have no such luck, but there's enough of them to hold on to the guy, or at least to his arms. The rest of him goes down into the hole.
Yep, which prompted Robert to say, he's alive, just disarmed. And we all laughed and then went, oh, Robert.
Yeah, so I just kind of noted generally, the visual effects on the smoke monster look so much better. Like, there's a bit where he's like his upper body is sticking out of this recess, and you see the smoke kind of come up and curl over his shoulder, and it's this really creepy and effective shot, and it's just miles ahead of what the monster used to look like. Also, so I think we had it confirmed back in season 3 with Yemi that the smoke monster can take human form and imitate people. But here we have, when he disappears down there, his voice calls out to the other members of the team, who then try to go down and rescue him. And so we get another indicator that, like, or at least deceased people on the island can be impersonated by the smoke monster. Well, I think we didn't take some notes for a few minutes because we jump ahead later. Jen is still getting yanked around by the time flashes, and he pops up later where Rousseau has apparently killed the other 2 members of the team and has the confrontation with Robert, her husband and the father of her child that she told Saeed about, where he tries to shoot her, possibly in self-defense, but she'd removed the firing pin from his gun, and so she just blows him away.
Yeah, and actually these 2 things are back to back because of the time scramble. So Jin is there like immediately after what's-his-name gets pulled down into the hole and the other guys go after him. Then there's a time jump, and he finds himself an unspecified amount of time later, enough for Robert to have presumably been possessed by the monster or become the monster, and for Danielle to kill him.
Well, so it's unclear if, in fact, we know that the guy who got dragged under was being impersonated, but it's very possible that Rousseau was just being paranoid. I mean, it's hard to say for sure because the other 2 guys are dead. She's able to kill Robert by shooting him in the head, and it's weird to say that sentence out loud.
Really? Why, Robert?
I don't know. Just a funny, itchy feeling I get in my forehead. And just a quick note that the actress who plays young Rousseau doesn't look a whole lot like Mira Furlan, but she does a thing with her eyes in this last scene where you see that kind of like, that sort of hauntedness that was such a huge part of Rousseau in the 2004 scenes. That part's kind of coming onto her face. That she seems like a really, friendly young woman at first, and now this Rousseau has seen some stuff, and it's a nice bridge towards where we know that character will eventually end up.
Well, for the second episode in a row, one of the main characters gets saved by the time flashes rather than, fucked up by them, because as Jin is running away from young Danielle, who was shooting at him, a time jump happens, and he finds himself in the same time period now as Sawyer and Juliet and Locke. And so we get a really great reunion between Jin and Sawyer that reminds us how great these two characters are together. We just love them.
Yeah, just big manly hugs.
And we get a really great interaction here where Jin knows that Charlotte can speak Korean. They established this back in season 4 because Charlotte reacted to a conversation between Jin and Sun. So when Jin starts, he's gotten much better with English, but when he's really trying to get a point across to them, he asks Charlotte to translate, but he's just looking off in her direction.
And she's sitting next to Miles.
Yes, who is Asian. And so Sawyer walks up, looks right at Miles and said, "You heard him translate." And, oh, God, Miles looks right at me and is like, "I'm from," where does he say, Encino?
He's Korean. I'm from Encino.
Beautiful. I love moments like that. Miles is establishing himself as one of the greats of this show. Back in 2007, which feels weird to say in the context of the show, but yeah, back in 2007, every part of Ben's plan is slowly falling apart. Kate refuses to go along with it.
I think Saeed bails too.
Saeed bails too, and I wrote down that it's low-key kind of fun watching Ben's best laid plans fall apart. After so many seasons of him scheming and playing people against each other and manipulating them to do what he wants, here everything just keeps going to shit. To the point that by the time he actually gets to where he's going, it's just Sun and Jack that are agreed to go along with him. And Desmond is there, but he is firmly intent on not going back.
And Ben actually had no idea he was coming, so that's just a lucky draw.
Yeah, so as far as the Oceanic 6 goes, Ben is 2 for 4.
Well, I was wondering about the Desmond thing, because he wouldn't have to be one of the ones that goes back, because he wasn't part.
He wasn't on 815.
Okay. So it's just the 815 people, not so he wouldn't count. Okay,
He's not relevant as far as their get them back to the island plan.
Okay, cool.
And as poor Miles is watching Charlotte slowly brain scrambly to death, as she grabs him and looks at him, and I can't remember the exact context in which she says this, but she name drops the episode itself and tells him this place is death. She's trying to convince him.
I think she's telling Jin that.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
that he can't let Sun come back to the island.
That's what it is. Yes. Yeah. And so yeah, that's what sets Jin up for for the rest of this episode. Sets up his little arc here. But yeah, and I love also getting a title drop like that from a character. It's great.
But I had to point out to you that Dead All Along watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right underneath that,
Dead All Along
watch. Yep, we got a new one. This place is death. Thanks for fueling that fire, Charlotte. Her brain mentally jumped ahead in time a year and a half to when the internet was saying, the finale had just aired and the internet was saying, "Oh man, they were dead all along."
No, they weren't.
Yeah. And well, Charlotte didn't know that. She dies shortly after this. She didn't get to see the end of the show.
We do get more. I mentioned that there's just a lot of foreshadowing about Ben and sort of the things he's been doing off camera, but when he's driving Jack and Sun to wherever he's got this proof of Jin's survival, I think Jack says something along the lines of if we find out that he's lying, he tells Sun, "I'll kill him myself." And with his two passengers kind of casually talking about murdering him, Ben kind of snaps, pulls the car over, and is like, "If you had any idea what I have done to protect all of you, you would never stop thanking me." And again, like you said, we've seen Ben's plan sort of falling apart in his hands, but it's still a little unusual to see him just flat out lose it at people like that, just indicating that he's in a more erratic emotional place than we usually see him.
And we get our next tempting fate watch because Juliet says to Sawyer, and they make it to the orchid, and Juliet immediately tempts fate by saying, "What are the odds that we would end up in the same time as this place?" Because
and Flash.
Yep. When she says it, the orchid is right there in front of them and easily accessible. Nope, Flash, it's gone. It's just a hole in the ground, or it's just a well that Locke has to climb down, which also doesn't work out for him that great. But in a larger sense here, Charlotte was also tempting fate by coming back to the island after being told. We find out by Daniel himself, as a child, she was told not to come back to the island, and she tempted fate and did it anyway.
Yeah, so it just seems like the actress is scrambling to get what were probably meant to be several episodes of backstory out in just kind of a hurried monologue before the brain scramblies finally get her out. But it does kind of play into the general theme of any episode. And we've talked about it before about, different ways to depict time travel in fiction. Can you change events? Are events set in stone? Can you actually move things in a different direction? Or will all of your attempts to change things just make them happen the way they were always supposed to? And yeah, there's just the sense that, like, someone told her not to come back and she spent her whole life trying to find the island again. So was that fate, or was that her choice to push back against things? It's a theme the show's always been kind of interested in. Jack is the skeptical rationalist and Locke is the man of faith and destiny. But yeah, with the characters actually jumping around in their own timelines, it gets very literal in these episodes.
So okay. And I was thinking about this when we were watching. What time would Charlotte have been there? Like are we 1988 like Rousseau time, or?
You'll find that out soon, but she was a child in the 1977 portion. That's the back half of the season.
Okay.
So presumably she was born in
early 70s.
Early 70s, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So she would be roughly 30 at this point when she dies, which brings us to the next point. I wonder if Charlotte was always intended to be written off this quickly.
So I did some more reading on this. I think I might have indicated on an earlier episode that she'd had like a dispute with the producers, which further reflection I don't think is actually correct. There were some stories that came out about some hostilities on set for Lost, but I don't think she was associated with that too much. Apparently she was only supposed to be in the 4th season for about 8 episodes. Like, she wasn't even supposed to make it through the 4th, but because the writer's strike cut down their time, they didn't get all the stories they wanted with her, so they decided to keep her around for the 5th season, but ultimately decided, just, we don't have time to dig into all of it, so we're going to write her out fairly early on. So in a sense, she was around longer than originally intended, but not as long as they'd probably planned to really get all of her story elements out.
Gotcha. It just feels weird that, like, she was introduced in the first episode of season 4, sticks around and is relatively important for all of that season, and then for these last 4.5 episodes, she's just been, like, slowly dying.
Yeah, that her main function in the story is to give Faraday a sense of urgency, and really for the whole on-island plot, Faraday is kind of the central figure for this season. We're going to see sort of a lot of how his actions and choices sort of dictate where everything goes. And so as a result, yeah, Charlotte becomes like an incentive for him to solve this problem and not so much a character kind of in her own right.
Yeah. Well, did you guys miss John Locke and leg trauma? Because boy, boy, have I got news for you.
I'm trying to remember if the rope disappears from his hands when the flash happens, or if he lets go as it's flashing, because as far as he knows, the well might not be there when the flash is over.
Well, I think the ground closing up takes care of the rope for him.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, as he's being lowered down, they have another time flash, and all of a sudden there is no well anymore, and he's just falling straight to the ground. Leg first, and who amongst us doesn't love a good bone sticking out of skin shot?
Ugh.
Love a compound fracture.
Uh-huh. Once again, John Locke suffers some pretty severe leg trauma. This is going to take a lot longer to heal than just getting shot through the thigh.
The rest of his life, possibly.
Oh, womp.
Down at the bottom of the well, though, he is not alone. In fact, it is our old friend Christian Shepherd, holding a lantern that just so happens to throw his whole face into a lot of really spooky underlighting. And I don't think it's been... I think we first saw John Terry, who plays Christian. We've seen a lot of him in Jack's flashbacks, and Ana Lucia and Claire, just him being, kind of the imperious alcoholic mess that he was. We're seeing a different version of that character now. We first saw him in the end of season 4 when he's in the cabin and has the conversation with Locke. But there is just something, a very different register of the way that the character is played. And, yeah, it's really fun to sort of see that, knowing kind of where this is going as he gives Locke kind of the last guidance of what he's got to do next.
Because I don't think Locke would recognize him as Christian Shepherd. He doesn't know who Christian Shepherd is, does he?
He has no idea. He just knew him as that guy who was in the cabin one time.
Yeah, and so based on what this Christian Shepherd says to him, I'm the one who told you to move I told you to move the island, not anyone else. Locke in this moment thinks that's Jacob.
Or at least someone speaking on his behalf, that
Right.
the island is telling him that he has not done his duty correctly. And he asks, because Richard has told him, you'll have to die to get the others to come back. And when he runs that by Christian, and Christian doesn't really say a yes or no, but just says, I guess that's why they call it sacrifice. You get this really beautiful moment of acting from Terry O'Quinn, as he had been hoping that the island might have a way to let him off the hook, that there might be some way he wouldn't have to do that. And you see him process that, you see him sort of run through it, and the string instrumental that plays under it is that theme that we've had for Locke repeatedly. I think for me it's always going to be associated with the first time we see him get back to his feet after the crash on the beach and realize that he's got his legs back. But it's kind of always, I think the title, and as Michael Giacchino always does, is Locked Out, is what that piece is called.
Of course.
But it's a lovely piece, and just, the moment of Locke accepting this and deciding to go ahead anyway is, just a very beautiful little performance from Terry O'Quinn.
I have never heard music in this show.
Honestly, I need to just.
I
get
mean,
the
I
soundtrack.
literally, I could not. I read this note and I was like, music? What music? I literally have never heard music in this show. I mean, when they're playing the records and things like that, I've heard it, but I don't.
You don't remember it's the end of the season and we're trekking to someplace important music?
Yay, we all pushed the raft into the water.
Yay, we're all...
Not the booterel?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We're all on our way to the radio tower. We're all taking the boat back to the freighter music. It's iconic. End of season. We reserved this specifically for the finale.
No?
Ooh.
Wow.
It's a pretty good soundtrack. You should listen to the if they have an album, I'm sure they do somewhere.
Yeah.
You've got music blindness.
Maybe I do.
I'm going to, when we're watching this from now on and the score comes up, I'm just going to reach over and shake you.
Okay, please do.
Carol, listen, music.
What?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and because my eyes and my ears, they don't work together. Never mind.
Is it weird that I understood exactly what you were saying?
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad you did.
I hope the listeners at home also understood what that meant.
Yeah, if I'm watching something, I can't hear nothing.
We do get one I noted and one I forgot to write down, but two more moments from Christian. One where he tells, or Locke, who's, still suffered a very severe leg injury, asks, can you help me up? And Christian, after a pause, goes, no, I can't. And then just doesn't elaborate further, but Locke has to, drag himself to the wheel to push it back into place. And then after he succeeds in that and the light starts to engulf them both, Christian says, say hi to my son for me. And there's a pause, and Locke starts to yell, who's your son? Before he vanishes, which, literally his last seconds on the island, Locke is being given a mission he can't possibly accomplish or understand.
And from a person who is low-key fucking with him.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I forgot the actual... Oh, you're right. They arrive at the church where Eloise Hawking is. Desmond joins them, and I think it's finally confirmed that this is in fact Faraday's mother. I'd forgotten when we found out that within the show, but I think it's the end of this episode when they get there.
Yes. And we see the giant pendulum, like, I need somebody who's smarter than me to explain to them how this technology works for pinpointing the location of the island, not where it's at, but when. That whole, like, mind fuck of a time travel thing. Fuck you, Eloise. Anyway, we're going to move on to episode 506, titled 316. Is that a wrestling thing? Like,
so it is. Originally, it's a Bible thing. The verse John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believe in Him shall have eternal life." It's basically the Christianity in a nutshell verse. Became a wrestling thing because Stone Cold Steve Austin cut probably one of the most famous promos of all time after beating Jake the Snake Roberts. Talking about how Jake would, you read your Bible, you say your prayers, you talk about your John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, "I just whipped your ass." And that became his thing.
I hate what you two have done to me. And by extension, Cara, your husband, former podcast host on this network, because I knew that was a Bible verse, and yet my brain still went to wrestling first.
Mine always does.
I think the show is leaning more on the Bible thing. But,
Not on the wrestling thing?
Not so much.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. The show should have leaned into the wrestling aspect more. Characters should have been cutting promos.
Much like Steve Austin, John Locke also doesn't have a working knee.
Womp. This episode starts with an eye watch, which we haven't gotten one of those in a while, and much like the very first episode, it's Jack Shephard opening his eye on the island again, guys.
Lying in the forest, wearing his suit, staring up in confusion.
Yep, we are fucking back, baby, because it's not long after this, he hears somebody screaming and gets up, and we get another jungle run.
Yeah.
For like Jack, it's been 3 years since he's gotten to run through a jungle, but he's fucking back, baby.
It's just, stop us if you've heard it before. Like, this might be one of the ballsiest cold opens the show ever did. Because the last episode ends with, okay, it's just a few of them. Can they get back to the island? How's it going to work? And then the next episode, and Jack's back on the island. And they do eventually jump back to show how it got there. But I remember still watching that and being like, wait, no. Is it, they did it? What? Just like that? It's just such a great little juke from the writers. I do miss Vincent. That's the one element that they weren't able to get, because we still don't know where Vincent made it off to. They did find his leash. I forgot, they get back to the camp and they find Vincent's leash abandoned, but we still don't know where the goodest boy on the island has gotten to.
Don't worry, you'll find out, Cara.
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay, because you knew I was going to ask.
And shortly after this, the source of Robert's tattoo is revealed as he rubs his arm here in front of us.
I keep wanting to call it the lighthouse, and that drives me crazy because it's the lamppost. It is the only Dharma station that is off the island, and it is named in reference to C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where a lamppost in the middle of a forest is kind of a marker of this boundary between our world and the fantasy world of Narnia.
So here's where things get fun, because this is where Eloise really starts breaking it down for people. We get a flashback to 48 hours earlier. Now we're back in flashback territory in a weird sense, because we've already seen Jack and Hurley and Kate back on the island, and now we're flashing back to Eloise explaining to them, and they're setting up how it's going to happen. And she talks during this whole thing as though she is narrating a nature documentary. She's a great actress, but I was like, can you put some, like, Veritas into this, please?
My vibe was more like a professor, because anytime someone talks, she like turns like they've just raised their hand. So like son will be like, what does that mean? She's like, that's an excellent question, son. Nah, and then just goes on. Like, it's just, and I think because she was an academic at one point. I think that's how Daniel got into it. So maybe that's sort of what they were going for.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
I just thought all British people did things that way. Like David Attenborough and all that.
I'm going to tell the Brits you said that.
You please do.
Oh, they're going to get real polite about it.
Oh, no.
We do get kind of an introduction of what's going to be kind of a theme of, well, it's always been a theme of the show, but it's especially going to get drilled down on this episode where she explains if they recreate as close as possible the circumstances of 815 and fly on a plane that is flying over the spot where they've calculated the island's going to be, they'll get back somehow. And Jack, who's, trying to get on board with all this, but points out that it all just seems kind of crazy. And she tells him, "Oh, stop thinking how ridiculous it is and start asking yourself whether or not you believe it's going to work." Which, on any other show, would just be kind of a throwaway from the writers, like, don't worry about it, audience, just go with us for the ride. On this show, I think the phrasing is very deliberate, because she doesn't say, stop thinking it's ridiculous and ask yourself if it's going to work. She says, ask yourself if you believe it's going to work, because the real core of this is, what does Jack actually believe about what's going on with all of them? And that's going to be something this episode just goes back to over and over again.
Well, the lamppost, I don't know if we mentioned or not, is in a secret room in a church. So Eloise pulls Jack away when she tells him they have to recreate the circumstances of the H-16 crash. And when Jack walks out...
Oh, we skipped it. She also gives him Locke's suicide note.
Oh, that's right.
The first reveal we've had that Locke took his own life. And as she specifies, he hanged himself.
Yes. So at this point, Desmond and Son have left. Jack walks out into the church and finds Ben sitting in one of the pews. And Ben proceeds to explain to him the history of doubting Thomas. And specifically says, oh God, I lost the quote here. He couldn't believe the resurrection had happened. And I just wrote, welp.
There is a lot of short and long-term foreshadowing in this scene. He brings it up because there's a painting on the wall, and it's a real, I don't know if that's the real painting, but it is a real painting out of the Renaissance of Thomas literally sticking his finger into the wound in the side of Jesus.
It's always creeped me out.
And just kind of worth remembering that we already got a little replay of Jack's first arrival on the island. Jack had an injury when he got up on the very first pilot. He had a wound in his side, and down the road he's also going to get wounded in the side again, which is some pretty heavy-handed symbolism. but
Jack Shepherd, unlike Jesus, can still eat Skittles.
What?
What?
Because they're always falling through his palms.
Oh my God.
Exactly, Kara. You're getting it.
Good.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So, in a flashback, which is fun to say again, we see that Jack, after the next day before the flight, he needs a pair of shoes for Locke to put on, something of his father's to put on Locke to help recreate these circumstances. And something is happening with his grandfather. It's ultimately inconsequential, but it does lead us to one of the guest stars of the episode that made me and Robert both go, hey, it's Arlo Givens. Mm-hmm. I initially mistaked him for another older white actor from Daredevil, but no. It's Raymond, what's the last name?
Raymond Barry.
Yeah, Raymond Barry, famous actor, been on a lot of TV shows, but
I think working since like the 40s. He's an incredibly long career.
Yeah,
wow.
He was on the X-Files, and a few years after this episode airs, he will go on to be on one of the shows we've talked about, picking up after we're done with Lost, Justified, where he plays the father of Timothy Olyphant's character, Raylan Givens.
Wow.
Like you said, this episode that sequence really doesn't do much for the plot of the episode, because really, like, what comes out of is Jack gets a pair of his dad's shoes that he can then put on Locke's body. And really, that could have happened if Jack just went home and got them out of the closet. But it's a nice moment, because I do feel like this whole episode is a lot about Jack just kind of weighing what he's going to do with the rest of his life. And I think he does see in this, guy who's, in a retirement home. He's tried to run away a few times. He and his granddad seem to get on well enough. He gets, I think, an indication of like the life that, like the best case life that's ahead of him if he doesn't go back. And I feel like that's kind of weighing on that whole conversation that kind of puts him back on the path to getting on this plane again.
I'm sorry, I have to jump back a second for the last note. Raymond Barry also plays the father of John C. Reilly's character, Dewey Cox, in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which I think we've talked about on this show before. I know neither of you have seen it, and that's a travesty.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately,
I have.
Oh, don't you say unfortunately. That movie's fucking hilarious. We are going to watch this together, because now it's Lost related. And I couldn't help myself. I had to put in the notes, wrong kid died.
Oh, I thought that was an Arlo quote from somewhere. I feel like that's very much the kind of thing he would say, even though he only had one son.
No, that is a Dewey Cox. It's a Walk Hard quote, because that movie's a parody of Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic. And yeah, anyway, yeah, it'll make more sense when we watch the movie, even if it's just you and me, Robert, if Cara spurns us on that one.
Oh, I won't.
So Jack eventually heads back to his place and finds Kate lying on his bed in a full-on emo funk, having decided that she is going to go back to the island with him. And when Jack asks about Aaron, she gets up tearfully and is like, "You will never ask me what happened to Aaron." And it's like, when we eventually find, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, Cara, Aaron's with his grandma.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I had
yeah,
to
like-
assume, and by grandma, do you mean Claire's
mom.
Okay.
Yeah, Kate just
Good,
asked
good.
Claire's mom to look after Aaron. Like, that's...
Eclair.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Eclair.
that's all that happened. And I get that, like, yeah, she's saying goodbye to the kid who's become so important to her, but it's really kind of an overdone thing. Like, there's not some dark secret.
Well, she made it seem like she sold him on the black market or something.
Well, she
Like,
had to have money to get on that plane.
Well, that's true.
Do you know how
Oh,
much
wait, no.
baby-
They get free flights for the rest of their
Oh,
lives.
that's right. Yeah, so she didn't need to sell Aaron. She just did it for fun. Robert, when you said full on like emo funk, the only thing that would have made that better, because she's laying face down in the bed. I wish when Jack had walked around the corner, she'd be kicking her legs.
You should have had, like, Nirvana playing or something.
She gets up to give that line to him, but she's been crying, so her mascara is just running down her cheeks. It was this scene that made Kate's character like click into place for me. I finally get it.
I like your thesis here.
Her character makes a lot more sense when you realize that Kate gets horny when she's sad. Because after this, she starts making out with Jack again, and like you see them the next morning. Jack's in full-blown lovey-dovey puppy dog mode, making her breakfast and coffee and shit, and she just wants to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
The honeymoon is over. She's on her way out the door. But yeah, the past 4.5 seasons suddenly make sense with that one revelation. Kate gets horny when she's sad.
I feel like all of her kisses that she initiated with Jack or Sawyer were preceded by at least one person screaming and crying dramatically.
Yeah. Now I kind of want to restart the show from the beginning to test this thesis.
So Jack gets a call from Ben, because Ben had said he would take care of getting Locke's body picked up and transported to the airport. But Ben, like all of us, has had other stuff come up, and so he gives Jack this sort of awkward, like, I'll get to the airport, you just got to go get Locke, just go take care of this, I've had other stuff. Unlike most of us, when we see Ben's side of the conversation, he is covered in blood and soaking wet, and his left arm does not appear to be moving. So he has gotten sidetracked, but good. So, Cara, do you remember any of the context for why he's like that?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And it's another instance of the show fucking with you, like, time-wise, because we will see much later in the season why... Is it much later?
It's this season. I think closer to the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We find out exactly why he was in that position.
Oh, good.
All right, so let's talk about the ways, and my autocorrect here changed Ajira to Akita for some reason.
Also, quick note, this Ajira Airlines we find out is based out of India. Thomas the Apostle in Catholicism is the patron saint of India, or of Indian Christians, because he was, in tradition, he's held to have headed east and evangelized there before he eventually died. Also of a spear wound to the side. So, just tie that together.
Wow. That's deep.
Coincidence? Probably. All right, so here are all the ways that the Ajira flight recreates the oceanic flight. In this instance, Locke's body replaces Christian's as the one in the coffin going onto the plane, and Saeed is being escorted onto the flight by a U.S. Marshal instead of Kate.
We
Now,
also... Oh, sorry, good.
I think this U.S. Marshal is a lot nicer than... what's his name, that escorted Kate onto the plane, because unlike Kate, Saeed is flying first class.
Mm-hmm. He's sitting with his hands folded under a blanket to kind of hide the handcuffs, which way back in the second episode, when they found the handcuffs, Sawyer accused Saeed because he'd noticed that Saeed had his hands under a blanket on 815 as well, so he thought he was hiding them. And on the Ajira flight, he actually is.
Wow, nice catch. I did not realize that. Hurley is reading a comic book like Walt, and he has a guitar case like Charlie. Why does he have a guitar case? We don't know yet.
Nope, but we know that it makes it to the island with him because when Jack finds him in one of those waterfall pools, he's clutching onto it. The comic he's reading is called Why the Last Man, which is written by Brian K. Vaughan, who is one of the show's contributing writers. I think he wrote the episode before this one.
Huh.
Or Why el Ultimo Mundo, because it is in Spanish.
And much like Hurley, Ben makes it onto the flight at the very last minutes.
And Hurley almost freaks out when he sees him because Hurley had planned for a lot of things, including buying out the other 78 of the seats that had not been sold by the time they got there to make sure that nobody else is going to be on a plane that he thinks is going to crash.
And also so that the casting department doesn't have to get even more extras after they spent so much time killing off the remainder of the survivors. I thought about that randomly this morning for no reason. Like, first you kill off a bunch of them at the others' camp when Lakimi shows up. Then you kill off a bunch on the freighter when that blows up. Then you kill off the rest with the flaming arrows and those last two guys with the claymore. Yeah, I imagine that when the casting department got the new scripts, they were like, we are not casting any more goddamn extras just to hang out on a beach.
But all they had to do was just kill them all in the plane crash.
That's a good point.
That would have taken care of everything.
Yeah, the only new people we get a close look at are the flight attendant, the guy who's behind Jack in line, and the U.S. Marshal who gets sight on the plane. We see a few other faces in the background, but none of them get any focus. Yeah, but Jack kind of notes that, like, yeah, they're all on the plane, they've made it together, and he's kind of trying to make small talk with Kate a little bit and just say, like, don't you think it means something? And, well, you've got, let's see, was it Cara or David who wrote the next line?
Oh, yeah, it was me because while Jack is talking to Kate about how crazy it is that they all ended up on the same flight together even after they parted ways the night before, Kate drops this on him. We might be on the same plane, but we're not together. God, she is still the fucking worst. You just banged this guy the night before, Kate. I guess she's not sad, so she's not horny, but still.
But it's actually kind of fun to see Jack trying to be a little more of a John Locke, like, hey, I wonder what the bigger meaning of all this is, and then to have Kate be the Jack to him by saying it doesn't mean anything. And then the punchline of it all, of Kate insisting it just happened this way, there's no greater meaning. The pilot makes his announcement, and it's none other than our good friend Frank Lapidus.
Who I missed so much.
Oh, my gosh. Great moment where Jack asks him to step out of the cockpit, and Lapidus starts to just say hi to him, and then quickly notices all other members of the Oceanic Six.
We see a close-up of every person as Frank notices them, too, which is the best part, because he's like, oh, hey, that's Kate. And there's Hurley and Saeed and Ben. And then drops the line, do you want to say it?
We're not going to Guam, are we? Can you imagine it? Because he's got to still go back to the cockpit for the rest of the flight. How awkward is his conversation with his co-pilot? You know, that guy's like, should we call ahead to the tower, get our landing instructions? And Frank's just like, nah, I don't think we need to worry about that.
In fact, why don't we check to make sure that your life preserver works?
Yeah, so Jack heads to the back where Ben is reading Ulysses, I think, by James Joyce, also about a guy who came back after a long time away. Well, I don't know what the James Joyce novel's about, but that's what the Iliad's about. Not Iliad, the Odyssey. And Jack asks, how can you read? Meaning at the time like this, and without looking up, Ben goes, my mother taught me.
I love that.
I get that he's being snotty, but also he's just lying for no damn reason. His mom died on the day he was born. Like, come on, Ben. You don't have to just lie every time.
Yes. When you're Ben Linus, yes, you do. So Jack finally reads the suicide note because it kept making its way back to him. I don't remember the sequence, but every time he tries to get rid of it, it comes back.
He even tried putting it in the coffin with Locke, but then
that's right.
They were having to check the body for some reason.
Yeah, security checked the coffin, found it, and brought it back to him.
Just making sure the corpse isn't stuffed with cocaine or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, but why would you take a note? Like, I mean...
That note could be a bomb. That note could be made of cocaine. Let's give it back to the guy and see if he snorts a piece of paper. Anyway.
Good point.
We gotta laugh now because the actual note.
Yeah. The actual suicide note that John Locke left simply says, "I wish you had believed me," which is that the saddest suicide note ever? It gives me big for sale baby coffin never, or baby for sale one crib never used vibes. Yeah. The saddest 6 words ever written.
Oh, God.
It's crazy that apart from, we see Locke in the coffin, otherwise we don't see anything of what's going on the island, and we still don't see any indication of what happened after Locke turned the wheel. But yeah, he's just hanging over the episode. So, oh, good God, that was a bad choice of words. His presence is everywhere in the episode.
He's still within our hearts. Yeah, we didn't mention that the end of the last episode was the reason the time skips have been happening is because the wheel is literally off its axis. So John has to put it back into place for everything to settle down.
And we've gone kind of long, as we always tend to. I think kind of interesting question is, so at the end of this whole episode where we've talked about like what Jack believes, what, belief, doubt, faith, all that, is he a believer now? Because right now he just seems to regard everything as being like, kind of like that letter. Like it finds its way to him, so he's got to read it. This plane is the way to get back to the island, so he's going to do it. But it's like something that he has to accept. It's just sort of this inevitable thing that he can't really play a part in. It just happens to him. And so he's on his path there, but he's not yet at the place where, Locke saw destiny as something empowering. Like, destiny meant he wasn't just going to be a guy who lived out his days in a wheelchair. Destiny meant he had something, great and special ahead of him. Jack's not there yet, but he's a lot closer than he was when he left the island.
And then
the plane crash sequence on a budget. As they start to hit turbulence, Hurley puts a sleep mask on, just like ready to just take whatever happens. The poor flight attendant who's trying to get everybody buckled up slams into the wall a few times. And then it fades to white, and that's how we get to Jack on the island, which that is how you do a plane crash sequence on a budget.
That's right. Yeah, and then, so we go back to the beginning of the episode. We recap that really quickly with Jack waking up, hearing Hurley, runs, rescues him from the water. Turns out that Hurley could have just stood up straight. They see Kate on a nearby rock. Unfortunately, she did not bash her head and die. She's still alive. But the question is, where's Son and Ben and Frank and Hurley?
Or the plane, for that matter.
Yeah, where's the plane? The U.S. Marshal and no, Saeed is there. We just don't see him yet. And as they are getting out of the water, back up onto dry land, what should drive up but a Dharma van? And who should get out of that van wearing a Dharma uniform? Say it together.
Jin!
Pointing a gun at them. When the hell are we? What is going on? We'll find out soon because, yeah, I love this episode. I feel like I was really hard last week on the first 3 episodes because they had so much play setting to do, but it has paid off.
I had forgotten how good this episode is for, there are episodes like Walkabout or The Constant that everybody just always brings up as like the pantheon of not just best of this show, but best TV of all time. And there's an episode like this one that there's some plot stuff happening, but a lot of it's just dealing with these really heavy themes, the stuff at the core of the show, and it's just so good and so well done. Like I actually watched that one again before recording, and I'm gonna watch it again when I catch up on this with Gina. But man, that was just such a great note to end this week's batch on.
It was. So in terms of like relevant dates, what was happening around this time, we are recording on December 3rd. This episode's dropping on Thursday, December 4th. And on December 1st, 2004, episode 110, Raised by Another, aired. And on November 30th, 2005, season 2, episode 9, What Kate Did. And then there are no other relevant dates at this time.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? And then I had to add a line to the best line deliveries thing that we've got going. It's got to be Lapidus. We're not going to Guam, are we? Oh, man, fucking Jeff Fahey. The delivery of that line is perfect. And I think even though it's not said out loud, I think we can add... Oh, you already started. You just did. I wish you'd believe me to the saddest lines list. That's some heavy shit right there. So yeah, any last thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
Next week, Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham. Hang on.
Yep, we got another good batch, if I remember correctly, coming up next week. Robert.
I'll bring my tissues.
Yes, you very much should. Robert, either your social media or a thing that you're doing now that sparks joy.
I have been watching a series on Netflix called Death by Lightning, which is about the presidency of James Garfield and his assassination by Charles Guiteau. And it's a really fun historical miniseries. If you liked Lincoln, you'll probably like this one. Just great cast. Really good performances by Michael Shannon and Matthew McFadden as the leads. So on Netflix, only 4 episodes.
Nice. Adding that to my list.
Cara, your social media or something that sparks joy?
Well, right now it's a twofold thing for me. I am building Christmas Lego sets,
Fantastic.
and I'm listening to Desperation. I think I've got... we're right there towards the end. I think I've got like less than 3 hours. I should finish it tomorrow.
Fantastic. Tack.
Tack.
Katie and I just finished part 1 of season 5 of Stranger Things, which just reignited my love for that show. It reminded me why everyone's been obsessed with it for 9 years. But she just finished it. I'm starting from the beginning. The Pit on HBO Max, which is
with Noah Wiley?
Yes. Which is told in 1 hour increments, basically like real time. So it's basically like 24, but for a hospital.
So taking bullets out of people, the opposite of Jack Bauer.
Yes, exactly. Helping people who have been tortured instead of torturing them. Yes.
Huh.
So yeah, those are kind of my 2 things right now. But if we do still have social media, and I'm still on there, just despite all evidence to the contrary that I shouldn't be. I am at DB Hensley, and you can follow this podcast online at Long Walk Podcast on Instagram. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoy this show or any of the shows on this network, I still need to take that sentence out. There are no more shows on this network anymore, but you can make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
We're not going to Guam, are we?
I did believe you, Locke.
Aww.